Good evening, YouTubers. T-Square with T-Square Talks. Hope everybody's having a great day. Got a great video planned out for you guys today. Today, I want to take a few minutes to talk about what is going to happen when people actually realize there is a full-blown recession coming, and they kind of move out of certain types of assets and move into gold and silver. So I kind of want to talk about that today and what I believe will be a huge price reversal in an upward direction. We're already starting to see that. The other day, we got a little bit of a kind of a spark of fears, I guess you could say. We've seen the price of gold and silver plunge, but we've seen the price of a lot of different other assets like Bitcoin, the Dow Jones, the S&P, the NASDAQ. We've seen that all plunge in really double-digit percentages in the short term. We kind of really saw gold hold up really well. People view gold as a monetary asset. And right now, a lot of people, unless you're a stacker in the stacking community, a lot of the average everyday people don't see silver as quite a monetary metal. They see it as an industrial metal. And that's why we really seen that big sell-off in silver, because a lot of people were scared that if basically the economy slowed, production slowed, the demand for silver in industrial demand would slow. And a lot of people tend to miss the big picture that silver is a monetary metal. It's a safe haven asset. And so we kind of did see that big sell-off. But we'll see how that plays out in the next, when people really start getting scared and looking for other assets to move into. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. If you enjoyed today's video, please take a quick minute, hit that thumbs up button, and help me out. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And a special thank you goes out to all of our members. So with that being said, let's jump right in. So right off the bat, on Friday, we closed out the day at really another 3.5% gain. In a short time, one day, 3.5%. What a lot of people don't realize is these 3.5%, these 2% days, or even a 1% day, are adding up to more and more money each time. So I mean, a 3.5% jump moved silver up another $1.08. Now, if you're still kind of newer to stacking, or you're newer to silver, then obviously that's discouraging. I'm not going to lie. I was discouraging, and I'm not even new to it, only because I was kind of working out a deal on some silver, and it was based on silver being at right around the $30 price range. And I said, okay, $30. And then when it went up $1 on Thursday, I said, well, it's only $1. We could see $1 drop. Now we're at $2. And now the odds of seeing $30 silver again kind of falls back a little bit. Now, I do believe that if we see some sort of a major spark of fear in the economy, then naturally you will see another possible sell-off. But each time that happens, we're seeing more and more people move into precious metals. More and more people becoming aware, more and more people prepared. We haven't seen a big sell-off like what we seen the other day, all the way down to $28 and change, in a long time. And so essentially when it happened, it did blindside a lot of us, including myself. I'll be honest, I didn't expect it to drop like that. But even then, there was a lot of people making jokes, and it wasn't really a joke, but I found it to be a joke that someone would think that we're bringing back the comments of, here we go, we're going to see our $20 silver. I told you, and we didn't actually see it. We saw it go down. $28 is really, it was devastating for a lot of people. Unless you were in the market, it was a little hurtful for me because I just put in a big order. I had just done a video that, I was actually going to buy on credit, because we were seeing such a big jump. And I did put that in. I put a couple huge orders in, and all of a sudden right after that we seen that big drop, and I watched it fall on that Sunday night and hit that all-time, well, that recent low that we've seen in a long time. And I was kind of feeling bad. I was like, man, I wish I had the money freed up to pick up more, but I was kind of all in. And I know a lot of people, they have this attitude of keeping dry powder. And yes, to a certain point, I believe that if you do keep dry powder on hand, you're prepared when that day comes. But for the people that keep that dry powder, you're also exposing yourself to the downside of that, as in you see precious metals continue to climb on a regular basis. How low will that drop be? I mean, I actually know someone that is keeping dry powder since we first shot over $20, and he's still waiting for that time to get his silver under $20. Now, I think that will actually be more of a dream at a certain point as we go higher and higher up. The fact that we didn't even break $25, a lot of analysts out there were even saying there was a possibility we could drop into the $25, $24 range. Even some of the biggest channels on YouTube were saying that could be a possibility. And some of these guys are really good at, the analysis, the charts, and just following what's going on. But, there's no real guarantee that just because something happened before, it doesn't mean that it will happen again the same way. I mean, you could take something as in just the odds of something falling into place a certain way. Maybe you've had something happen to you and you're like, the odds of that happening are just so extreme. I mean, I bumped into a guy that was a recruiter in my hometown when I was in Italy. I mean, what are the odds of just bumping into a random person that far away and just popping in and, hey, how's it? Oh my word! What? There's a lot of things that go into play when people look at the charts. The same thing ain't necessarily going to happen from the 2008 crisis all the way back to even the 80s when we've seen silver really jump. And I think each situation is going to be a little different. But one thing that we do see is when people get scared and the uncertainty really sets in, a lot of them will move into precious metals. And as that happens, we will see enormous gains that a lot of people kind of just joke about now. And when you tell people what you think could happen, you really, I guess you can say, some people get laughed at when they say what they think is going to happen with gold and silver. I apologize if you can hear my dog snacking. He always seems to want to eat right when I start doing the videos. He hears me talking and then he gets comfortable and just goes over and starts eating. So, but I want people to realize what's really happening with precious metals, because right now, I mean, we're seeing the dollar tank. I mean, if you guys have been following for a little while, I used to show the DXY chart on a fairly regular basis when it was up to, 108, 109, 110. Now we're down to 99.78. And, this is a 5-day chart right here. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the 1-day chart. Let's pull up the 5-day chart. You can see just in the last 5 days that it's actually, kind of tanked. I mean, where people are actually talking about it. When you go from, 102, 103 all the way down to 99, that does start to worry people. And then when you look at a 1 month, you can really start to see the drop in the US dollar over the 1 month. Now, we talk about this chart a lot because this is the chart that the average, everyday, mainstream person views the dollar. Now, we know this is a manipulated chart because really all this is the US dollar compared to other currencies that we chose to compare the dollar to. I've used the analogy before. If I'm going to run a marathon, I mean, could I set the marathon up to where I could guarantee that I could win it? Well, yeah, if I get to pick the people that I'm running against, I have the opportunity to really win it. I could pick some old people. I could pick some kids. I could pick someone that, has a limp, whatever the case may be, and some obese people, whatever. And all of a sudden, even me not being a runner, not being in good shape, could strategically set the board up, essentially set the marathon up to where I become the winner. And that's kind of what the DXY chart is, in my opinion. The DXY chart is a group of currencies that we compare the dollar to. And we picked and chose these currencies. Yes, they are allies of ours, and they work with us. And so really what they're doing is kind of more reliant, I guess you could say, on us to a certain point. And so it makes it to where we can strengthen the dollar, and then they can invest in the dollar and strengthen their currency. But right now we have a unique set of circumstances going on where a lot of these countries are, I mean, we're putting tariffs on some of these countries now, and a lot of them are really not wanting to help the dollar as much, not wanting to invest in it as much, and we're starting to see that big sell-off. I know I was reading an article earlier about one of the largest bond sell-offs in recent times. And so when a lot of people quit buying bonds, what does that really do? Well, I mean, that's basically people pulling their investments in U.S. dollars out and moving into other assets. Now, the big question is, what are the other assets that a lot of them are moving into? Well, I mean, we've seen a big sell-off in the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ and stuff, but now we're starting to see it really pick back up. So we went up on the Dow Jones yesterday or Friday, 619 points, or another 1.5%. We've seen the NASDAQ go up 2%, or another 337 points. We've seen the S&P go up 95 points, 1.81%. I'm sorry. And once you start seeing these big gains, a lot of people don't want to miss out. Everybody always wants to follow what other people are doing. Nobody wants to get ahead of stuff. And at a certain point, people are going to realize that all these stock markets are kind of overvalued, especially with potential of a full-blown recession. Now, I know someone's going to comment, and I would comment the same thing, that we've already been in a recession. But it's not the point of the recession, because you can be in a recession, but when people actually understand you're in a recession, people tighten up. People act a little differently. When you hear gold and silver is going to go up, over and over and over again, and you start seeing it go up, you want to put money into it. But there's a certain amount of people out there that they might know gold and silver is going to go up, but they might not really want to put the money into it just yet because they don't have as much faith in their own, I guess you can say, choices or decisions or thinking process to actually want to do it. And so the fact that they are not admitting that we're in a recession convinces people to kind of go against what they're seeing. You go into the restaurants, you see less people eating there at lunchtime. You driving home from work, you see more and more houses up for sale that aren't selling. You go to the mall and you see less people in the mall shopping. You're seeing what's going on, but you're not hearing it on mainstream media because they don't want to bring that up. Everybody always wants to paint this picture that things are still great and that things can't get worse. Especially, like, I'll be honest, one of the analogies that I always used to use too was the realtors. Even when you could see that there was a housing crisis and there was issues coming up in the housing market, I would tell a friend of mine, and she wants to buy a house. And she would tell me, no, the realtors are telling me things are great. Oh, here's my friend, she's so-and-so, she's a realtor, and she says the economy is great and houses are booming. Well, yeah, she has interest in keeping that thought going. Just like the news, the economy, all these things have, all these companies, all these people, they have interest to keep the system going. They don't want to see it end. If you're a stockbroker on Wall Street, you make money whether people win or lose, essentially. It's not a commission necessarily. I mean, it is a commission on your trade, but it's not if you make $100, I get a percentage of that. But if you lose, I get nothing. That's not how a lot of that plays out. And that's why I've always been against these financial advisors. I've never agreed with the whole system because my opinion, if you do, quite frankly, a bad job and you don't make someone money, you shouldn't be paid. I hate to say it like that, because it sounds bad, but it's the truth of the matter. You should be rewarded for doing good. And yes, if you do really good and you make someone a lot of money, you should get a bigger reward for that. But you're starting to see the headlines seeping out now that are kind of leading people to understand that things are not good, but they're not making their choices just yet. You know, um, stock market news, April 11th, stocks rise despite recession. So they're putting that out there little by little, and they don't want to full blown scare people. But when you start seeing that more and more people will get scared, and they're going to look to see. I mean, you might even see average everyday people that don't really understand a lot that will start Googling stuff, and it might be like something like, where can I put money? You know, where's the best place to put money during a recession? Where's the best place to park money during a recession? And let's see what they say. I'm curious. Safest during a recession. So, you know, they're putting high quality bonds, treasury notes, cash savings. The problem with some of these, in my opinion, is a lot of this is debt based. And when you have debt based stuff, you start to realize that your money is being devalued. Your treasury bonds aren't really paying you that high of an interest rate right now. Eventually, people come up with the answer of gold and silver. And when that happens, is gold a good place to put money during a recession? Put it very simple, investing in gold during a recession is because it's a safe harbor. You know, I mean, to me, what I have seen from experience, and you can look at it on the charts as you really zoom out all the way and you look at what we've seen in the past. You look at the 1980s, you know, some people want to say the Hunt brothers was silver. Here's the thing. If the Hunt brothers was just the silver, and a lot of people want to give the Hunt brothers credit for everything, and I really dislike that. The Hunt brothers were buying silver. They weren't buying gold. But yet gold was moving up. It was more likely that gold and silver were moving up because of recession. And yes, the Hunt brothers were tagged up on silver, but it wasn't just the Hunt brothers, which drives me nuts about that one. As time went on, you know, and you look what happened, you had your big 2000 dot-com bubble and really a huge downturn in the economy during that. We've seen it again in 2008. We've seen a pop. And as you look at the charts during downturns, people do eventually move into gold and silver. And I believe that is coming. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, silver gets a little more iffy because a lot of people will take the approach that it's just a monetary metal. It's not going to do anything. And the fact that it's manipulated, and anybody that doubts that there's manipulation in the silver market only has to Google, and you can start finding the actual legal cases against certain companies like JP Morgan and others that really show us essentially that there was manipulation. And when that happens, people start realizing that they will flood into gold and silver. And, you know, this is not financial advice. It's my personal opinion on what I believe is going to happen. And a lot of people are just going to miss the boat because, I mean, we've talked to people already, even here on the channel that, you know, oh, hey, I sold my silver at $35 and y'all should have too because now it's plunging. I'm going to buy it back for 20, 25, whatever the case may be. Now, yes, if they sold at 35 and maybe they bought at 28, they might have made a pretty good profit. But the truth of the matter is, how many people timed that 1 day window, maybe 2 day window, where there was a great opportunity there? A lot of times, if you have silver, you're checking the prices on a regular basis. I know I check it multiple times a day, 5, 6, 7 times a day. I'm looking at my phone. When I talk to people here on the channel, I hear people say the same thing. They're checking it on a regular basis. And ultimately, I believe it is going to jump. And when it happens, a lot of people will just miss the boat. And it's sad to think that, but it's going to happen because right now you just have big money moving into gold mostly, yes, and that's why we're seeing the bigger and bigger moves on gold. I mean, today, look at gold, $3,236, another all-time high that we're seeing on a regular basis. Even when you zoom out 1 month, you can see the big drop that we had the other day and then right back up at it again, and really no slowing it down whatsoever. A lot of people a little scared. They wish wish they had bought more gold instead of silver. You know, when you got gold, silver at roughly 100-to-1 ratio, that's unheard of. It doesn't come out of the ground at 100-to-1 ratio, so it's crazy that it's priced up at 100-to-1 ratio. But try to convince people of that, and you're not going to get some people on board. They're just, mindset is just, no, look what gold is doing versus silver. And you know, the truth of the matter is, yeah, gold did good. It was up 1.9%. What did silver go up today? I mean, look at that. Silver went up 3.5%. Now, this just happens because obviously more money can flood into silver. More people can afford silver. A lot of people can't afford. I talk to people on a regular basis now that can't afford a $3,200 ounce of gold. They're buying now the 1/10 ounce or even the 1/20th ounce. I'm seeing it. And yes, they understand they're paying a bigger premium on those 1/20th ounces, but they're willing to eat that bigger premium just to have some exposure to gold. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. I mean, I certainly don't like losing money on a high premium. But when gold goes and silver goes to where I think it's going to go, I don't think those premiums are really even going to matter when you look back at it. Because even people down the road are going to want to pay the premiums just to be able to get something when they can't find it anywhere. I mean, we've seen how quick a lot of silver dried up when the price plunged. A lot of places didn't have a whole lot of big selection. Some places actually had to wait a little while to get stuff. I was actually watching one video where someone, I guess, was trading in a bunch of golds, buffaloes, or eagles to get a bunch of silver. I don't know if it was rounds or eagles or what the case was, but you know, when you start to see that, you have to understand the demand as it climbs will get to a point where all this money in the United States today can't flood into silver because there's not really enough silver. It doesn't mean we're running out of silver. It just means that it's getting harder and harder to come by. And once you realize that, then essentially you either have it or you don't, and it will get harder and harder to get. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up the video here. It seemed like it was a little longer. Maybe it was because I was talking a little faster. It seemed like I got a lot of information in, but it was only 21 minutes. That's why when you see me flip like that real quick when you're watching the channel, that's me checking how long we're at already, because I really dislike going over 30 minutes. And we'll see what happens. Right now, you know, things have settled out. We got a 30-day pause. I've heard some people say that this pause on tariffs is really Trump backing down because he understands the market ain't taking it. And, you know, so they've got to back off on the tariffs. There is no 30-day pause. It's straight up they're not going to do it. And they just say 90-day pause to kind of save face. Now, whether or not that's true, obviously we're not going to know until 90 days. However, I think this financial storm is far from over. I think right now it's easy to satisfy people and put it on the back burner. I do think that at the next Fed rate meeting, they will cut interest rates. Are they worried about inflation? Absolutely. But they're still going to have to cut interest rates because, I mean, look what's going on. People are strapped now. The average American is in debt, too much money. They're having a hard time. They're just struggling to make ends meet. And they're paying high interest on basically a high balance. And so there's really no happy ending. And another thing that I think about often is by the time people realize gold and silver is a safe haven investment, how many people are going to have extra money or be able to afford gold and silver, especially if gold jumps up, you know, $4,000, maybe $4,500. Silver jumps up, let's just say $45. You know, you're still at that 100-to-1 ratio. I mean, people are already struggling. Now $45 gets to be costly. And, you know, once you get there, that's it. Less people will be able to get in. And the whales, the elites, the high-ups, they'll already have theirs. And hopefully you'll have yours too. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up here. I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're preparing yourself for what is coming. Hopefully we'll see a little bit of a dip next week, but I'm not convinced we're going to see any major dip. But a lot could happen over the weekend that could calm some of this down, and maybe we'll see silver inch down. But honestly, it is showing strong momentum right now for both gold and silver. And because of that, I don't know if I'm going to see that $30.30 roughly that I was looking at when I was looking at making a big deal with somebody. So who knows? At a certain point, I may be one of them people that's trading out some of my gold to get some extra silver in my possession, because I think silver will do better. The only down thing is if metals prices do crash, you will see silver crash a whole lot harder. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely hit that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member. A lot of cool perks. It's fun to become a member. You help support the channel. Your comments go straight to my phone, and you have a shot at some sort of free silver each month if you're lucky. We give some away to somebody, one lucky member, and we do it live. And so a lot of fun opportunity there. Like I said, it helps out the channel. So thank you all for considering, and thank you all for watching, hitting that thumbs up, and I'll see you guys again next time on T Square Talk. Y'all have a great weekend, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye.